It is suitable for general family viewing.
Hello there and welcome to Beyond the Limit with me, Muthoni Maina. Now on this episode, we've got an amazing lady who has joined us today. She goes by the name Patricia Mativo, and she is among the hailed contestants on Miss President. She is also a mental health advocate, and she is also a former brand ambassador of Riziki Sauce. But if you remember in our previous episodes, we covered Riziki Sauce right there with Sam Witty and Kennedy, and it was such an honor to be part of Riziki at the time. So karibu sana Patricia. I know I've done my own introduction, but maybe for the viewer at home, they would like to know more about you. So just a brief introduction on your side.
Okay, my name is Patricia Mativo. I identify as a person with a physical disability. I graduated in December 2021 with a bachelor's degree in analytical chemistry, first class honors. I must say one of the few women or young people and persons with disabilities in STEM. And I am a Miss President contestant representing Nairobi County. I am the former brand ambassador of Riziki Sauce, as you have said. I'm a mental health advocate, I'm an environmentalist, and I'm a humanitarian at my own capacity.
So many titles to one name, but I am so proud of that fact. Indeed the future is female. But straight up, what actually happened, for you to be in this particular condition?
Well, back in 2012 December, I got into a road accident that injured my spine, and I got partial paralysis, and that's why I'm here. I'm using my crutches. It's been a journey. Initially, I was at a state where I couldn't be able to move my body, let me say. I needed like 100% support in terms of doing my basic stuff, like bathing, eating. Yeah, but it has been a journey, and through therapy for like 2 years, I've been able to move from not moving at all to a wheelchair, to a walking frame, the one that the old grandparents used, and now to crutches.
Mm-hmm. So you being a mental health advocate, how did that affect you, at the time? How are you able to, wake up from that and still be inspired and to still be where you are as of now?
Great. So when the accident happened, I was a teenager. It's like almost 10 years ago. And sincerely speaking, there's a point where I gave up. Let me say, no, I didn't give up completely. I was hanging by a thread. Until one day when I decided that it was high time I collected my pieces. It was me who needed to save myself from whatever I was going through, It was either life or death, and of course I chose life. Yeah. And I told myself, you know what, life has to keep on. You have to keep on doing what you want to do in life. You need to see where you want to see yourself in the future, despite what has happened to you. Because it's really disturbing. One day you're okay, walking on your feet, and the next day you're rendered like a person with a disability. And for a teenager, that's quite a lot. But now when I was able to collect up my pieces, that's when now I started advocating for people's mental health, because I went through a serious depression. And honestly...
Which lasted for how long?
My depression lasted for like, almost 3 years. And by then, I stayed home for 2 good years. The 3rd year is when now I had to go back to school. So
your education definitely stopped. Then you had to go back after 3 years, that is.
After 2 years.
After 2 years.
Yeah. So you've asked when my depression lasted. So it was like almost 3 years. Yeah. The 2 years I was at home, and the first year when I joined back school. So it was not really easy, and by then I was not given a counselor. I don't know for what reason, why the doctors never told my parents that it was high time that because she's a young person, she needed somebody to speak to. I went through that process myself. You're broken, you collect your pieces, they fall apart. It was like a cycle. Then when I joined back school again, staying at home for 2 good years, that means I'd lost touch on interacting with people socially. So it was all like a surprise, like, how should I handle this? I mean, as a person with a disability, how do I handle my fellow young people? It was really traumatizing, but I had to collect my pieces. And when I joined back school, that's when now my dad thought, it's high time we look for somebody for her, because I was almost dropping out. I remember when I went to school the first week, every day I would come back with a severe headache, and I told Dad, you know what, I think that's enough. I'm tired of this pain and all that stuff, But my dad just ignored me, and life kept on. I kept on going to school. Then one day, I found a counselor at home, and I started talking to the counselor. Then again, for 2 years without a counselor, you're even wondering how do you even communicate with her. Then I thought to myself it was not working. Then one day while I was in school, just sitting alone, I thought, you know what, I think the only way to assist this counselor, to assist me, is if I come up with my own solution on how I will bring the change that I would want. So I thought about it, and back then in school, I never liked when people would turn back and look at me. I had the walking...
You went back to the same school?
No, I had...
To another school? Yeah.
Yes, so...
a whole new culture, right?
Yes, a whole new culture, new faces, new teachers, and also a new education system. Back then, I used to study in a different country. So I had to...
Which country?
Tanzania. Yeah, I used to study in Tanzania. So again, the syllabus was just wow. So I had to see how, again, I can align myself to, the syllabus from Tanzania and from Kenya. And thank God the school that I joined, they just let me do what I wanted to do. I mean, the basic subjects and sciences. For me, I love sciences, and I'm not an arts person. So I told them, and they're like, you know what, it's okay. I didn't even do CRE. I didn't do history. So I did the basic subjects, all the sciences and geography. So back to people turning back, it's never really used to make me comfortable. And I used to have a friend who was rude. So when we walk in and people turn, she'd be like, "Mnaangalia nini?" I'm like, "You're embarrassing me." I mean, it's better if we just, assume and move on.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I went to my counselor and I told her, you know what, I don't like when people look at me as a person with a disability, because that's what they see, and people are like, oh my God, she's going through a lot. So I told her, I will see how I can give these people a different thing to look at me. I want them to see my capabilities more than my disability. And since I was in school, I said, you know what, I'll do well in school to a point where they'll be like, that girl is very good in chemistry, that girl.
Yeah.
And when I talked to the counselor, it's like she never saw that coming. And the following week, I think she came just once, and after that I never got to saw her, because it all depended on how I needed her, and I honestly didn't show any interest of needing her. I mean, I've been...
Because you had already formulated your own solution at the time.
Yes. So back to school, I told myself I'll use the first time and second time to try and align myself with the system, and by the third time I'd want to be at the top.
Yeah.
And sincerely speaking, by the first time I was number 20, and I was leading in biology practical. That came as a surprise. Yeah, because staying home for 2 good years, that was like, wow. Then second time I moved to position 15. Then the third term is what wowed me. I was the best in chemistry and biology, and I was number 5.
Wow.
Yeah, and our dean by then said, you know what, we're going to use your positions right now for your Form 4's index number. So I actually landed on index 5. Sincerely speaking, it all came as a surprise, and I can't say it's been me alone, it's been God. And by the time I was graduating or completing my KCSE, I actually became index 1. I tied with the index 1 of that school. The one that people are like, you know what, he's the one who gets that position is just for himself.
It's his,
and when the results came, people were like, oh my God, oh my God. I was also like, yes. I never saw that coming. I knew yes was going on the right direction, but having my plans in line and go the way how I wished them to go, it was like just a miracle, and it's something that I'm forever grateful. Because also I remember one day I was having a discussion with my mom. She was like, you know what, when you go back to school, you'll not be as bright as you used to be, because even in my former school I used to be good. So I was like, yeah, mom, it's true. I mean, who can stay home for 2 good years and still pick up the pieces and become great in academics? And I mean, these people have been in school throughout, but you just show up after 2 years. And everything happened. And
so inspirational. But do you ever, think that things would have been super different if you still, studied in Tanzania rather than, being here in Kenya?
You mean before my accident?
Yeah.
Well, the life before my accident, honestly, it was also another interesting life. I remember my mom used to encourage me to read, and she was like, you know what, my daughter, ask for any book. I wouldn't mind. I'll buy you the best books that you want for you to pass. So long as you give me, in TZ, they call them divisions. So when you complete your Form 4, you are ranked according to divisions, and the first one is Division 1. So long as you give me Division 1, then I'll take you to the US. And of course, I wanted to go to the US.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I'll do this. And I actually have a twin brother, so she would buy the same books for me and the same books for my twin brother. I used to study in different schools. So I was like, yes, I can't wait for the day I complete this school, then go to the US. But then sadly, the accident came. I think God just had a different path for me. If my disability or my accident was one of his ways for me to inspire people and encourage people, then who am I to say no? It's him at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he has better plans for us, Jeremiah 29:11. And I still believe that there is much more that I have to do to my fellow young people. It's not only about persons with disabilities, because sincerely speaking, I once was told that, Trish, you inspire not just persons with disabilities, even the other people. My story is one of the stories where it's something, it's like evidence that you can go through shit, a lot of it, but still, if you're able to collect yourself and trust in God, you can become the best person and the best version of yourself and perform the wonders of wonders. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. Hey, anyways, let's now get to the campus bit of it. So how was that? It's a whole other transition for you. So how was it for you?
Okay, so after being happy and all that stuff, yes, Index 1, I remember I got an A in geography and physics. Then I sat with myself and I was like, no, I'm not ready for campus. I am not ready. In fact, I don't even want September to come. So this is because it means I'm going to a new space. And again, in campus, it's just freestyle and all that stuff. No one is looking after you. At least in high school, if somebody decided to become a bully, at least you can report them somewhere.
Yeah.
But now in campus, it was all different. It's up to you. It's up to you with your principles. It's up to you if you fight for yourself.
Yeah.
I was really not ready. And for again, people to start, oh my gosh, that's the person with the disabilities. She's going to make it. So I remember there's this day when I just joined campus. I had gone to the admissions office. I was going to inquire, I think, something about help. Then there's this lady who was standing just in front of me from the main door.
Yeah.
Her body language was just like, oh my God, how is she going to manage in this school? Like, she was not speaking, but you could just tell she was translating
for
your behalf.
Yeah.
And you see, for me, it was really heartbreaking. I just went straight to her and I asked her, I needed this and this and that. Then she assisted me. But again, she had like a mood or something. So when I turned back, I told myself, lady, like inside myself, lady, you see this face, you will never forget it, and you'll hear my name until you'll just get tired of it.
Yeah, and on that point, now let's take a very short break. We'll be right back with more. Keep it right here.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
The new mobile money service imefika. Vuma ni wallet yako ya kurahisisha. Download Vuma app just like that. Ama join ukidial *844 #8. Kutop up ni Visa au Mastercard. Pesa Vuma tu Vuma ni free kutuma. Yo. Kufanya transfer to any bank ni kuvuma. Vuma. Sort mother na mzae na Vuma. Vuma. buy airtime kwa kila network for free. Hakuna interruptions ukibonga na msupa. Credo itaishaje na unaweza ukavuma. So bill zako na the Vuma pay bill. Lipa popote kwa till number ya Vuma. Sasa hiyo ndio inaitwa kuvumisha. Lipa faster ukivumisha. Kupata loan ukitaka ni kuvuma. Ukivumisha loan limit inapanda. Cash deposit na kutoa hiyo ni sawa. Na si kutoka base moja hapo sawa.
To join, dial *844# and download the Vuma app now. Load cash to your wallet through Vuma agents or your bank, or go to your nearest KCB Bank branch, ATM or agent. Let your money flow with Vuma.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu ya kizidi, muone daktari.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back to Beyond the Limit. Yes, we're still here with Patricia. Now, before we took a very short break, she was just telling us about her whole new experience in campus. So do continue.
Oh yes, so when I just joined campus, I went to the admissions office to follow up on matters of help. Then when I got into the office, there was this lady who had this face that was just, speaking, how are you going to make it? I mean, why did you even join campus in the first place? Like, you could read all that from her face, yeah. But she was not speaking, but you could read. So for me, it was heartbreaking, but since I was already in, I had to go continue with what brought me there and leave. But now, the moment I was done and I turned my back, I told myself, lady, you'll never forget my face. In fact, you'll hear of my name and get tired of it, because I'll become the best student and I'll also become the most, popular person in this school because of what I'll have to provide. Again, back to the drawing table. Yeah. Give people something else to see other than my disability. So now when I joined, when I kept on with the campus, I joined politics. First, I ran as a delegate.
Wow.
Yes.
Straight up. Yeah, okay.
Straight up. And actually, I tied again. I had the highest votes, around 100 and something from our faculty. Then after that, I went to the executive. I ran for Secretary Special Needs, Health and Environment, which actually served 2 terms. So already, they had already known me as a student leader. And of course, I used to fight very hard for matters of persons with disabilities. Joining campus, it was multimedia. By then, it's like they were totally clueless on matters of persons with disabilities. It's like they've never received students with disabilities before.
Even the infrastructure itself,
yes,
you can just tell it outright, yeah.
Yeah, and it's very old. So I had to lobby around and ensure that at least for persons with disabilities who come after me will not struggle the way I am. Like I've been suffering. So that's when I was able to ensure that there's ramps in school, at least for the residential areas, that in the hostels, and also have renovated washrooms for them, because again, persons with disabilities need really highly sanitized washrooms, in spaces. So that was my side in leadership. I was also vice chairperson of the health club. I served twice. And up to date, they still call me and they're like, we cannot forget you, know what? In fact, we're inviting you for this and that, which really amazes me. Then into my academics, because my goal was for her to hear me until she just gets fed up. So for my academics, I also did the same thing. I really did my very best. And finally, I graduated with the first class honors. Yeah. And I was I was the only one in that class, the only person, and clearly the only female. So in short, for analytical chemistry class of 2021, they only produced one candidate, was me, and it was a female. So it was really nice representing again females in science and again persons with disabilities in science, that we can do wonders. And in campus also tried all sorts of things. I mean, I needed to be everywhere at any point. I really didn't want to limit myself. So if it was for any opportunity, I really tried, and in some way, I just got in. I remember I also was the campus director for HAL Prize. Gosh, that was the hardest of them all. I mean, it was HAL Prize, it's a global foundation. So now you have people outside campus, not even administration, that are actually looking at you and seeing what you're going to deliver in terms of their mandate. And so for HAL Prize, it's a it's a global platform where they make students think as entrepreneurs and become as entrepreneurs through training and mentorship programs and competitions. So the very final step of the on-campus, of the HAL prize, you start with the on-campus, then you go to the regionals, then finally the winner globally gets $1 million for the seed money. And during my tenure, it was the first time I produced a team to go to the accelerator. Normally, yes, which happens in London. So the very first step is on campus, then you go to the regionals. So every participating team, every campus has a chance to participate in the regionals. But now when you get to the regionals, you compete with other campuses in other countries. So my campus actually emerged a winner in the Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia Impact Summit. Yes, and from then they went now to the accelerator. And I can say it's all through just leadership and mentorship, because for me at the end of the day, I told them as a campus director, yes, we have an award if you become the best campus director. But for me, I looked down and said, you know what, I'll focus on the teams first. I'll mentor them to the best way I can and remind them that they have the potential. And at the end of the day, it's them bringing an impact. So whether they make it or not, at least they'll start thinking in a way that they'll bring impact. So yeah, and we emerged victors and we won at the Kuala Lumpur, then we went to the accelerator now, competing with about 40 teams now, again across the world, but now at an incubation space.
Yeah. I'm about to give you a standing ovation. But still, how did Miss President, come about, and how did you get to be among the contestants?
Great.
Yeah.
So for the Miss President, of course I heard about it, that it's a TV program at KTN and it has so big influential women. So one day I checked my emails, then I have a friend who sends me, hey, Mkurugenzi, apply for this. I'm like, okay. But I put it at B.
Yeah.
Then through my WhatsApp text, so as a campus director, I got to create friends. And by then it was during the COVID 2020. So some I never even got to meet. Yeah. Because of, some will come and just ask about the whole prize. So this person, Jason, actually saved him as Jason HP HAL prize, texts me and tells me, you know what, I think you're capable of going to this academy. I'm like, okay, I barely talked to you, but you saw the potential in me. So you know what, let's remove it at bay and actually apply. So I applied and I was like, you know what, if they take me or not, at least I tried. And to my surprise, I get a call and they told me, you know what, you have been shortlisted. Now you have to come for the interviews. I'm like, what? One more step, you have to go to the interviews in Nairobi. And you know how Nairobi competitive it is. So it was 1 week from the day they called me to the day of the interview. Then I had traveled. When I came back, I actually fell sick. I was seriously sick. I had a blood infection. And I told myself, I hope by Thursday I'll be okay. Because my interviews were on Thursday. Thursday came, that morning I was shivering like no one's business. It was not even cold, but it was because I was very sick. Then I told myself, you know what, even if it's an opportunity, my health comes first. Then again, they told me the interviews, you can show up to around 3 p.m. So during all that time, I was like, should I go, should I not go?
Yeah.
Should I go? You know what, okay, let's try and go. I remember I started preparing at around 11, but I showed up there at around 2:30. So from 11 to 2:30, that was me preparing myself slowly because I was just sick. Again, trying to pick myself. You know what? There's no point of going. I've already picked my outfit. There's no point of going. But I was like, let me just go. So I was leaving the house. They're like, where are you going? I'm just going for an interview. I'll be back immediately. They were like, why are you going out and you're sick and you're on heavy medication? I was like, I'll explain later, but I'm coming back as soon as I can. So I show up there. The drugs were making me sweating, all that stuff. I was the last person to be interviewed in Nairobi. So entering that room, and I did the interview, and to my surprise, I got the email that congratulations, I've made it. Gosh, I've never felt like screaming so loud like that day when I saw the email. And I joined Miss President Academy, and the women in there are just so on another level. I'm like, dear God, at first you feel intimidated, but again you remember that you're all there on equal basis. You all went through interviews and you're there because of your qualifications. So getting to the academy again, it's like a plus for me in my advocacy. I also advocate for the rights of persons with disabilities. And it's like a reminder that for you as a person with a disability, you don't really have to limit yourself. you have to try where you can, where you feel like you fit. So long as you have what it takes, I mean, no one can take that away from you. Even though we have some places where they limit persons with disabilities, but if you're able to speak up for yourself and stand firm, because when I walk into any space, I make sure that my disability is the last thing they even talk about. They think of. It's my expertise and what I have to provide. So persons with disabilities have the best capacity they can if they're given spaces, if they're mentored, even though for some, like me, I had to, through the depression, I had to take through myself and all that stuff. But now I'm here for the people who don't have somebody to guide them. I mean, they shouldn't limit themselves. They can be great leaders. I mean, Miss President, we are two of us.
I agree with you. Yeah. But when it comes to that, do you feel, or rather do you think that persons with disability are, fairly represented when it comes to political matters? So the space is too tight?
So in terms of political matters, the space is very tight. In fact, they normally have this slot for, persons with disabilities. If let's say you've gone through the election process, they normally have that space. You know what? Let's give this to somebody with disabilities. Why? Because they hardly show up, to nominate themselves or to run in elective positions. So even their space is not that much guaranteed. In fact, I think it's in Kilifi where they had somebody who didn't have a person with a disability represent them as, become a representative of person with a disability, which is actually cliche. It should be the persons like women's rep. Having a man in a women's rep position doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, but that's why we're here as young people and as persons with disabilities. We need to lobby for spaces. We need to go out there, just like the way we advocate for women to come out and run for these spaces. It's the same way a person with a disability can go to. I mean, our disability should be the very last thing defining us. You shouldn't just sit there and wait. You know what? Let me wait for that position because it's for person. No, my friend, go for that space. I mean, and. I failed to mention that I'm in the UNFPA Youth Advisory Panel. I'm the vice chairperson. The vice chairperson position is not put for persons with disabilities.
But yet you got there.
I got it, because I was like, I think I can. Why not apply? I did, and people actually voted for me. Because again, I had to tell them this is my vision and we have to do this together. They listened to me and they understood me and they believed in me. So as any person, regardless of your disability or not, you shouldn't limit yourself. You just have the potential.
So also, in line with that, in the future, will you be eyeing for any political seat? Are we about to see you, in the next 5 to 10 years, as we get to wind up as well?
Yeah, clearly. I mean, being a Miss Presidential, clearly I have interest already. So in 2027, I want to run as a women's rep. And when I say that, people are like, which county? I'm like, of course, it's Nairobi. I've been raised in Nairobi, so why are you asking which county? I know it's very competitive, but I mean, I only know of Nairobi. Cannot tell me to run for another county. I mean, if it's going to get nasty, it's going to get hot, it's going to get messier. I mean, I'm from Nairobi. I've already applied before in other positions as from a person from Nairobi, and I still got them. So what will limit me from applying as a woman's rep in Nairobi 2027? So that's the seat I'm eyeing for in 2027.
Wow, amazing. Also, do share out your contacts where people can get to reach out to you.
Okay, well, Twitter, it's at Mativo Trish. Actually, all my platforms are just at Mativo Trish, except LinkedIn, which is Patricia Mativo.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Such a brilliant lady, and with all those, you just like, I don't know, I'm just seated next to a wow factor. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for, just telling us